Hi, my name is Morgan, and we're back with Healing the Gap. Today, we're here with a special guest from our community-based research network. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ilona Perkins, and I am a former community journal reviewer. I've been making an effort to beautify my neighborhood, and that is what I'm here to talk about today.
Great. I guess we'll there's like a whole narrative, there's a whole story behind this, I guess you could say. We'll just like start from the beginning. And we'll chat really briefly about like your role with like the journal reviewers and how this kind of like connects to this land that you've been buying. So briefly, can you just like give like a quick synopsis of your role in the journal reviewer study?
Yes, for the journal reviewer study, it began prior to the pandemic, and the pandemic kind of threw things off. But as a community journal reviewer, I was part of a study where community members were given manuscripts to review. And I guess the objective was to see if community members could review medical manuscripts the way that I guess a professional might review them in an effective manner and understand the content. And so I took those dollars because it was a paid study. And I really wanted to do something that I wanted to keep giving with it. I felt like I was being given a chance to be heard and a chance to make a difference in my community and in patient care and patient outcomes. I felt that the study itself was really an invitation for community members to have a voice and to be kind of assistants or stewards or partners of change. And so to me, I thought, what can I do with with what I'm getting compensated? What can I do with this compensation that will keep giving back? And so I began with just one lot at the corner of my street. It was the worst lot on the street. It really just said, when you enter our street, it's the first thing you see. And it really said, run away. Don't drive down the street, drive in the other direction. And I felt that if I made it look beautiful, that it would uplift the community. It would make people a little bit happier and a little more cheerful when they came home from work. I just wanted it to really say this is a group of people that care about their neighborhood. And just wanted to uplift the community. And then the second lot that I purchased was sort of an accident. The Street Club president unfortunately lost her home due to arson during the time I had acquired the first lot from the land bank. And she saw me digging and cutting grass out there, and she saw my daughter with me. And she said, well, I'm moving. She moved away. Her home was totally destroyed, along with two other homes. And to make a long story short, she gave me the parcel. I just had to pay the taxes and the transfer fees. And it was with the promise that I would beautify that parcel too. And so this is year 3 of my beautification project, and I've had a few challenges, but for the most part, it's been very rewarding, and most of the community has received everything really well, and it's encouraged a lot of conversations about the importance of trees, the importance of beautifying your neighborhood and keeping your neighborhood clean. And this year, since I started food instead of just perennials and native plants, I think it's working out a little bit better. It's being received a little bit better.
Great. That's such an interesting project. I feel like there's a lot of neighborhoods where like there is empty land and there's a ton of potential. And I feel like that's a lot of people are taking on those projects of like, oh, like we have this space, like what can we do with it? Because I think like the space that you live in like plays a really important part to like how you perceive your community and where you live and your well-being. And um I guess something I was curious about is so you have how many plots of land do you have so far right now?
I have 2 on Parmalee, and then the home that I was living on Parmalee, I gave to my son. He became an adult, and he decided he didn't want to live with me forever. And He's going through the process of joining the United States Air Force.
Oh,
And so
nice.
I said, well, this is my way of, this is my way of supporting you and giving you the best foot forward. As you know, we have a housing crisis here in Cleveland. So originally I decided to sell the home, but that's not what happened. So we have the 2 lots and then the home. But when I acquired the first vacant lot, which was owned by the county land bank, there were 12 vacant lots on our street. 6 of them were city owned and 6 of them were owned by the county land bank. That has changed, and now there are 10 vacant lots on the street, and one of them is owned by an out-of-town owner. The other is owned by a local LLC, and the rest are city owned. But people don't understand that it's not just a vacant lot. It's not just a patch of grass. The city does not really do a good job in maintaining some of these vacant lots. I think that Cleveland has so much land to cover. It's impossible for them to cut each lot, vacant piece of land in the city every week. It's impossible. It's impossible for them to pick up the trash every week if there are no community members, supporting that effort. And so another goal that I had in beautifying those 2 spaces was cutting down on the dumping, cutting down on the trash, cutting down on just the look of hopelessness that the vacant land was giving my street and my community. And certainly for the kids in the neighborhood walking past to and from school, I can imagine being frightened, walking past tall grass, an unkept area with a lot of trash and not knowing what's behind there. It just seemed very unsafe to me. So that was the other piece of it.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just like what we talked about earlier, like the way your neighborhood looks and your perception of your neighborhood is really, really impactful. I know from our emails you sent me some photos, and I was curious. I First of all, I love like the trees that you planted in the one. It looks so good. And so I was curious, like, what plans do you have for for the land? Like, I know you said that you mainly were doing like trees and flowers, but now have like shifted to like food plants. What else have you guys been doing so far? Like, what other development as well?
My plans continue to change. I kind of roll with the punches. So the corner lot, which was my baby, I volunteer as a tree steward for Western Reserve Land Conservancy. So originally 10108 Parmalee was just pollinators, a lot of perennials and native plants, and a few shrubs. But I wanted to really do something that stood out, and I'm a tree hugger. And so what was planted at the corner there was 2 red buds, 2 little leaf lindens, 2 ivory silk lilacs, and a service berry. And the flowers that were there have been removed. We had a problem, unfortunately, with theft. For 3 years, no one touched any of the plants. Everyone was an admirer, and I would invite the children in the neighborhood to pick flowers, for the parents and whatnot. But this past spring, we had someone dig up an entire patch of pretty woman lilies. And I think it wasn't so much that they took some flowers, it was that they took the entirety of them, and that I planted things in that lot that I would have put in my yard at home. I really wanted it to say, we care about our neighborhood. And so that was number 1. Number 2 came when someone sawed off the tops of our ivory silk lilac trees, which I had gotten permits for and was very proud of, looking forward to seeing them flower. So that is what motivated me to plant things that could be used, edibles, things that could be used for medicinal purposes, mostly herbs and vegetables and fruits. That's what motivated the transition over to that. Sadly, the vandalism. And the statement I've made to the community and to the neighborhood now that I've transitioned over to just pumpkins, herbs, and vegetables was, feel free to take what you need. take some, but not all. And I've explained to many of my neighbors what is in there: spearmint, peppermint, marjoram, dill, a variety of radishes. I know the white icicle radish is my favorite. It has a spicy taste. About 3 varieties of carrots. And then, I went down there this morning and we have about 9 pumpkins. And they're New England pie pumpkins. But I planted those because I remembered the enthusiasm of the neighborhood kids the first year I had pumpkins. So I felt that I had to put them in this year. And then we've got wild senna, and I planted 2 more serviceberry trees. I really tried to plant things that could feed the community. And so the serviceberry and all of the herbs, the peppermint, spearmint, catnip, I planted as well. I wanted things that people could use. And then holy basil, which you don't see every day, but it's good for respiratory issues. And so I put all of that in there. And then for the center lot, 9509 Carmelie, I've redone that lot 3 times now. It's sort of been experimental. And finally, we decided, my daughter and I, this spring decided that we will convert it to a garden for girls. So currently in that lot, we have 3 black walnut saplings, 1 Coosa dogwood, and I just planted another serviceberry there. The black walnut trees will take about 5 years to fruit, but they are an expensive nut and they're very tasty. The wood itself is very pricey. I just really wanted to plant things in the community that would serve a purpose. And I think it'll be great fun in the years to come when the trees do fruit for the children in the neighborhood to be able to pick those walnuts. And so when we do our garden for girls, we've already drawn up the plans and we've been taking some estimates for the fencing. I didn't want to fence off either of the lots. But the garden for girls, I think I really wanted to speak to the girls in the neighborhood, to all of the children in the neighborhood, but really to the girls, because there's not much to do. There's not much to do. We live in a food desert. And so what if Glenville had another source for food that was free to the community? And with the number of girls, unfortunately, that have gone missing in Glenville, hopefully this will serve to encourage them and say to them that anything is possible and that they are very much thought of. So our plans are just to make it overwhelmingly girly with pink and purple flowers and every kind of vegetable and perhaps even a plum tree. That'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. We do have 2 pumpkin plants there. They are the Big Max pumpkins, but I only expect to see maybe 3 pumpkins out of that lot because it's part shade. And so that's about it. It's just been an enormous undertaking. In terms of volunteerism, Western Reserve Land Conservancy did assist me greatly last year with putting in those trees and with weeding. Parmalee Gardens is what they had called 10108. But for the most part, I've been the sole workhorse. And so I expect it to be a size 2 or a size 4. But maybe as we go into the fall and I finish 9509 Parmalee, the garden for girls, maybe then everything will come full circle. My goals have changed. I think that the theft of the plants and the cutting of the trees, maybe those things serve to humble me. I was very vain about the space, I was going down there and taking pictures every day. And maybe it was meant for me to do something that would benefit the community a little more. And maybe it was meant for me to have more conversations with my neighbors about what each plant or each tree is, what purpose they serve, how they can be used to benefit the community.
No, I think first of all, I think the garden for girls, I'm excited to see that mature. And that was something I wanted to chat with you about as well, is like what has the conversations been like with your neighbors about the land? Like, are people excited? Have people volunteered to help you? I know you said you've mainly been doing a lot of the groundwork by yourself, but are like the kids interested in getting into the gardening? Like, are the adults in the area? I remember when I was younger, my neighbors spent a lot of time doing yard work, and I would literally go over and I'd help them like lay down their mulch, like pull weeds, like plant their like flowers. And I thought it was so much fun. And so I could imagine like other kids in the neighborhood like also really enjoying that. So yeah, I guess going back to my question is like how have your neighbors like responded to it, and like what input have they given to the project thus far?
The most input and the most enthusiasm that I've received has been from opposite ends of the spectrum. My neighbors who are 12 and under, and then my neighbors who are 70 and over. I've gotten a lot of input and a lot of encouragement from my older neighbors, senior neighbors, and I've gotten a lot of enthusiasm and interest from the children in the neighborhood, especially the pumpkins and the plants with the larger flowers. At one point, we did have several hibiscus plants, and they were the dinner plate hibiscus with those huge, probably 8 to 10 inch diameter flowers. So the children in the neighborhood were very excited about that. I've given out a lot of plants and seeds to the children in the neighborhood to take home and plant in their yards. And it's been nice to see. It's been nice to see them enthusiastic and excited about growing their own food or growing their own sunflowers. And I hope that somewhere down the line, it'll encourage them as they get older to have their own gardens or to take an interest in environmental science and the value that it has. My older neighbors have been happy to see something done with the space. That has been the overwhelming theme of our conversations. Oh, you make it look so nice, baby. It looks so much better. Thank you. From what I understand, Glenville was once a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood, and there's still parts of it that are. And I think that there are several streets in the Glenville, area in the ward that are beautiful. And maybe I just have a little more work to do. And just maybe I have to continue to be persistent in my efforts.
No, I think it's a really, really awesome project. And I've seen like other community garden spaces around like the Northeast Ohio area and in Cleveland. And I think that those are very underrepresented and underrated areas to like build community.
I have to
Please.
interject because there's something I thought of. My
Oh,
worst
please.
enemy in this whole process has been the groundhog.
Oh,
They reproduce that.
oh no.
Yes, they are my worst enemy. They are, they are just the anti-hero here. They have done everything to just, to destroy my efforts. They eat everything. I have 2 mulberry trees down at 10108 Parmalee, which I forgot to mention. And the groundhogs don't even run away during, when the mulberries start to, when you can pick them and they're falling, they don't run away now. They sit there right beside me as I attempt to pick the mulberries. They do not run. There's a family now of 10 of them, and they do not like pumpkins, thankfully, but they do like wax beans, string beans, service berry. I've learned what I cannot plant based on groundhog preferences.
It sounds like it needs to be like a groundhog reserve. This is a groundhog zoo.
Yeah. They've misinterpreted this as an invitation. I've set up a dinner for them, and I didn't realize what I was doing. They've looked at this as a buffet, I think.
That's a lot of groundhogs. There's like 10 of them?
There's 10 of them. They reproduce very quickly.
Are there groundhogs at all your lots, or just is there one that's plagued in particular?
The one that's plagued is the corner lot, and I am not sure why. I planted catnip with the idea that the cats would kind of ward off the groundhogs. They should be natural enemies, but they're not. They coexist.
They're friends.
They're friends. They live side by side with no issue.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, so are you from the area that you like have your lots in?
I purchased my first home in South Euclid. I stayed in South Euclid for 11 years. And
Mm-hmm.
then I moved down here to Glenville because the neighboring area, the University Circle, the clinic, Case Western, all of that, they had that Living in the Circle initiative where they were sort of giving home loans to people who lived in the area and helping with mortgages and that sort of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
oddly enough, I left the clinic soon after. And I was just, I like the neighborhood. I like the architecture. I like it's close to the lake here. So I've been here now for 5 years, even though Parmalee Avenue is my son's home. I'm sort of that parent that won't move out. Not the kid that won't move out, the parent that won't go away. And my son does help me maintain, he does the grass cutting and things like that, but the plants are entirely me. Um, I'm very anxious to see what will happen to this street in particular. They're getting ready to do a big construction project across the street from my son. They're getting ready to convert an abandoned school building into senior housing. And I'm
Okay.
anxious to see how that will change the dynamic of the neighborhood. And I'm
Mm,
anxious to see how that will affect my land reuse efforts. Will they be more appreciated then?
mm,
Will they be more respected then? What will happen, and what will happen to the rest of the vacant land on this street?
right.
As I'm sure you know through some of the studies I'm sure you've seen, a lot of children in my community, in my ward, in my zip code are plagued with asthma. A
Yeah.
lot of them have asthma. My daughter attended FDR and she had asthma, which she's outgrowing. How does land reuse, how does land abandonment, how do those things play into the development of asthma for children in my community? How
Mm,
do trees help? Do they harm? These are questions that I don't know the answer to, but that I hope in planting more trees I'm doing good and not harm. The majority of the shrubs I planted are things that will get very tall and big. I really wanted natural borders. I didn't want fences. I really wanted everything to serve as sort of an invitation for people to have more conversations about their neighborhood, to get together more, to talk more, and to kind of provoke people into taking pride in their homes and taking
hmm
pride in the street that they live on.
hmm
I'm sorry, I just keep talking. Edit
No,
that out.
please. No, I love this because it's such an important topic, and I love how I think, like you said, I think it will be interesting when they build, when they convert the space to, like senior elderly living, like how that will change the neighborhood. And I know you mentioned earlier that it's the really young kids and like the older people in the neighborhood who really appreciate the garden. It'll be interesting to see like what relationships you can build with the people and the facility to see like, hey, like this would this be something of interest to like you guys? Would you be interested in like investing not just monetary but like emotionally like into this space, like, and hopefully there's more positive and like thoughtful voices and feedback that come from new potential neighbors. um and also I think the point you brought up of like, um having access to like natural shade is like really important,
Yeah,
like trees, like it's so interesting, like even when you drive through a neighborhood that doesn't have a lot of tall trees and you're like in the car, air conditioned, windows up,
you
you
feel
feel
the
hotter.
difference.
You're like, it like you can just tell it's hotter. And then when you go through a neighborhood that has, like big trees on the tree lawn and has like the natural shade and there's shrubbery and like it feels more like homey and like just brighter, even though trees give shade, it adds. um but yeah, no, I'm excited to see like how your space will evolve. Are you actively looking to like recruit volunteers to help with the garden? and like the land that you have thus far?
I think that I have tossed it around for the Garden for Girls. I have, as you know, a mountain of mulch. I
Hmm.
will be getting more mulch. I am looking at purchasing a small amount of playground equipment, and that is something I do not think that is realistic to try and undertake myself. I
Hmm.
think that as I get closer to the implementation stage, then I might need the help of volunteers maybe. And I had hoped to get more volunteer efforts from my community, from my neighbors down here. But I think people sometimes are caught up in their own lives and in their own responsibilities and in just the day to day routines that they have. I don't think that there are a large number of people who have the time or the resources to even consider the idea of volunteer work. The other thing that I
Hmm.
had forgot to mention is with all the trees I planted, I wanted things that would flower. I wanted things that would be bright and that would be beautiful at various times so that every time you looked over, you saw something flowering or in bloom, brightening up the space. Even pumpkins, for instance, flower. The string beans and wax beans, prior to the groundhog invasion, they flowered. I just really wanted my neighborhood to look nice. I never wanted the argument that I had with the land bank and acquiring the corner lot is sort of the argument that I still have sometimes with some of my neighbors. When you go to an area, when you drive down a street where things are unkept and uncared for, and there are children, young people in the neighborhood, or older people, whoever's in the neighborhood, you're telling them that this is what they're worth. And I don't think that a lot of people realize that or interpret it that way. But when you abandon a space or when you have a large number of vacant parcels that are unkept and you're not prioritizing that area, you're telling people by your inaction that this is what they're worth. And so I wanted to really tell the children in this neighborhood and my neighbors of all ages that I think that they are worth a beautiful street, a street that's flowering, a street with trees, a street that they can. I want people to be able to walk past 10108 or 9509 and pick some fruit or pick some collard greens or pick a pumpkin during the fall. I want it to be that way. I don't want my neighbors to be discouraged. I don't like the feeling of hopelessness that comes in a food desert. We live in a food desert. If you were to come here, a lot of my neighbors go to the gas station to shop for their food. The Rite Aid that was here is closed, and the East Side Market really doesn't have much. And things like herbs to make tea, elderberry, for example, which I put in 3 elderberry trees and they're all gone now. But catnip, lemon balm, things that are medicinal, you're not going to see at any of the corner stores around here. Carrots, radishes, the mustard greens and collards. Unfortunately, your groundhog friends, they had those too. But those are things that I just really wanted everyone to have access to. So there. I'm sorry I've taught you to death.
No, I love this. I guess I should have asked you this question first, now that I think about it. But what got you into gardening?
I have been gardening and in the yard since I was 6 or 7 years old. I started cutting grass when I was 12. And so originally it was me cutting the grass at both of those lots. I have my own, unfortunately, I have my own health challenges, obstacles. I have lupus. So, as you know, the sun is not my friend. And the real challenge has been getting up early before the sun um, comes all the way out. I usually get down there about 5 or 6 in the morning, groundhog time, and do weeding, or I do my planting, or I do my watering then, or late in the evening. I think that would be the biggest challenge. But I have been an outdoor person and a gardener and just a tree hugger since I was very young. And I don't know why that is. But I consider my plants, when I got ready to leave Parmalee, I dug up all my plants and took them with me. And then I found myself bringing some of them back and getting new plants. I think we all have our thing, and I don't party much, so I think gardening is a safe pastime.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, I have very fond memories of helping my parents with yard work, and my mom's big into like inside plants.
Yeah,
We have a
I
lot of
like
indoor
indoor plants
plants.
too.
Yeah, so we've had issues with like gnats recently. They were kind of bad this summer.
You have to use peroxide
Yeah, that's what we
in the
found
water.
out.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
yeah, she has tons of plants that she takes care of. Some are like older than my sister, who's like 15. Like
Really?
yeah, one was like her dad's, that she got when he passed away. So yeah, she has like tons of plants. Or a big plant house. But yeah, I this is a really, really cool project, and I'm excited to see like not just how like the land evolves like physically, but like how people's perceptions
Will
of the land
change.
evolve. Have you been able to do any community buy-in like with your neighbors who are a little bit more like hesitant about the space? Are there
I
ways that
think
you try to engage
the most
them?
eye-opening thing for me was when the mulberries got ready to, I had two mature mulberry trees there, thousands of mulberries, and I invited the neighboring homes, about 5 different households, come pick the mulberries, please. Don't let the groundhogs get them all as they fall. Come get them. You can make jam, you can make wine. They're tasty. Come try them. And they looked at me like I had to leave, like I lost my marbles. Nobody came. Nobody came. But maybe next year. There's always next year. And maybe as they see me out there a little bit more picking and harvesting different things, maybe it'll be more approachable.
Hmm.
Yeah, maybe it'll
Yeah.
be more approachable.
Yeah. Maybe people are intimidated just by gardening in general. Plants can be kind of like, ooh, what do you do with these? But it's so easy to get into. Like you just gotta be there, and like you seem like you would be a great teacher and a great guide to usher in some people to help out. Um, yeah. What are your plans for the winter with the lot?
It's funny you should ask that. I planted 7 holly bushes, blue girl holly, at the corner so that we would have winter plants. I lost 3 blue girl hollies, and I've been thinking that I should just surround the entire corner lot with holly bushes. They are beautiful year round. The bright red berries do appear in the winter, and it'll still be eye catching. It'll still be welcoming. There will still be something there. I also tossed around the idea of just inviting the neighborhood kids down this winter to build snowmen in the corner lot.
Oh, that would be have like a little contest or something.
Yeah,
That'd be
that might
cool.
be. Yeah, I thought about that. You have this wide open space with nothing but snow. Have at it. Make it your wonderland, is what I've been
Right.
thinking that I should do. And maybe extend that invitation this fall. When the pumpkins are ready and I see the kids, there's kind of a group of neighborhood kids that are familiar with me and I'm familiar with them. Maybe then I'll tell them, this winter you can come down here if you're bored. Make your snow angels. Make your snowmen. Have your snowball fight down here.
Build some
I think it'll
forts.
bring good energy to the space. Bring happy, good energy to the space.
Yeah. I think yeah, it always does start with the kids. I think once people see them having fun and really enjoying the space, I think the middle-aged adults
Amen.
will see how great it is. And I bet even now a lot of them, even though they might not say so, probably do have an appreciation, just for the fact that's those spots are being taken care of. Like that's a huge thing. Just knowing the grass is cut, the bushes are cut, you can see what's around. It looks less scary. I think that's really important. Thank you so much for chatting. Do you have anything else that like anything else going on with the space that you want to add, or anything, any message you want to get out there?
No. I just really want my community to be nice. I want it to be clear that for utility companies, for people who are passerbys, when people just happen upon our street, I want it to be clear that this is a neighborhood of people who care. I want it to look like it's a neighborhood of people who care, and I want my neighbors and their children especially to know that they are worthy of the very best, that every flower and every leaf is for them to enjoy and hopefully benefit from. So that's all. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed learning about all of your gardening ventures and your story working your story working with like the journal reviewers and how like that connects. It's cool how you took some of the money used from, you know, doing community-based research and then injecting that back into your community. It's very, very full circle. Very full circle. But yes, thank you so much for talking to me. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.